Okay, we're up to Daf Chav Chesam at Beis. Around 10 lines, 10, 12 lines to the bottom. Eifa Tani. Eifa Tani Shevuos Bei Rabbi. Eifa, the Amoira, learned Mesach Shevuos in Yeshiva of Rabbi. Poga Bei Avimi Achua. So his brother Avimi met him. Because they're sitting at the Shabbos, they met at a Kiddush, whatever it is. Omar Le Avimi said to his brother Eifa, "Oh, you're learning Shevuos right now? Chabashayla. Shevuos Leichalti. What's the halacha if you say twice, Shevuos Leichalti? Shevuos Le'ovar twice. I didn't need it. Mao. Is it chayiv 2 korbanos or 1? Amar lein chayiv la'achas, only 1. You know why? Because once you said a Shevuos Leichalti, the other Shevuos can't be chal. Ein Shevuos chal al Shevuos. You already made one, so you only chayiv 1. The second one is not chal. Amar lei. So Avimi said to Eifa, I thought you were learning Shevuos by Rabbi. You made a mistake. Ishtabasht, right? 2 brothers. Harayotza Shavua la sheker. The mice, as soon as you said the first Shevuos, Shleichalti, that's a sheker. So it immediately evaporated. It's not the pshat that you have a Shevuos on a Shevuos. It's only when it's lahaba. Let's say you said, I'm not going to eat this kicker. So now you have a Shevuos that's hovering in relation to this kicker, so you can't make another Shevuos, it can't be chal. Right? Because there's something ba'olam here in relation to you that you're obligated or not obligated to do. But by the past, when you say shleichalti, immediately as soon as it leaves your mouth, it's gone. It's sheker. Now, get another sheker, so you chayiv twice. So the Gemara writes, Shevuos la'oichel teisha ve'eser. Let's see over here. I brought some props because Rocky told me to bring some props. Let's go. Okay. So here's some props over here. I couldn't trying to find, dates or figs, but we got these delicious OU Trader Joe's olive packs. They're really good. Okay, so we have right now. Let's count 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh,
you want to get to 9 and 10?
Oh, 9. Nathan, we got 9 olive packs. The guy makes a Shevuos. Shaloi oichel teisha.
One time I thought it's about an olive.
Trader Joe's.
Olives like that.
Yeah. So you got 9 olive packs, and you make a Shevuos. I'm not going to eat.
The last cookie.
Let's call it cookie. Yeah. For conversation's sake, right now. Shevuos oichel teisha. Then he says ve'eser. Afterwards is ve'eser, the 10th. So the shad's mouth. Chayiv kalachas va'achas. So, in other words, maybe you're chayiv when he said ve'eses, so you made another Shevuos. He said 10 plus 9. So now, if you eat them, then you have to bring 2 korbanos, or 1. So he says chayiv kalachas va'achas. You chayiv on each one twice. Yeah, almost. You get it to Chavtes. Shaul. Omar le yishtabash, you made a mistake. Itesha lo yochel, eser lo yochel. If you see that he said he's not going to have 9 of these delicious olive packs over here, says to get your attention. Eight. Anyway, it says.
I love it.
See, if you come live, you get free olives.
There you go.
I didn't know it's part of the...
It's fine. Why not? We make it part of it. So he says, if you said you're not going to eat 9, I don't know how many olives come in each, by the way. You can just open a pack and have how many olives come in. If you said you're not going to have 9, so that certainly includes 10. Avad includes 10. So it cannot be chal. It's a Shevuos. It's not chal, and therefore you only chayiv 1. What about the other case? The other way. Shevuos leichel eser. What if you said, I'm not going to eat 10 to Einim, v'teisha, and then you said again, and 9. Mao, in chayiv la'achas. Why? Because the second Shevuos is not chal. Why is it not chal? Because you already made eser. So you can't make a Shevuos on Shevuos. Amalei shtabash, you made another mistake. Why? Eser de lo yochel. First Shevuos was you're not going to eat 10. Less than 10 you would eat. Right? You could eat. Only 10 you're not going to eat. Ha-teisha mi yochel. So the second Shevuos, when he made teisha, that's moisif in the Isser, because saying even 9 I'm not going to eat. So once it's moisif, it's chal again, and therefore you chayiv 2. Rabbi said, sometimes you have a case, you can have eifas halacha, even though in that conversation, Avimi said you made a mistake, but sometimes he's right, la halacha kedamar. How so? When it comes to Rabba's example. Abai was a Talmud of Rabba, And he said like this, the Amar Rabbi, quotes Rabbi, Shevuos lo echel te'enim va'anovim. The guy makes a shvuah, I'm not going to eat te'enim va'anovim together. Okay, so meaning, I didn't bring another min. Let's just pretend, doctor. Guy says just came just in time. A guy, to this case, Rabbi says, Shevuos lo echel te'enim va'anovim. Guy makes a shvuah, I'm not going to eat. What are te'enim? Te'enim are the figs, right? Not dates. How do you know what's a day in a fig?
Big difference.
Because what?
Figs is big
The
difference.
middle of the word of te'enim is ani.
Te'enim.
It's I. And so in the middle of the word of fig is I.
Wait, I sent you.
Wow, never knew that.
Now you know it.
Somebody said Tamar is a girl, is a date.
Well, another reason
Is that a girl's name?
Tamar made a date with Yehuda.
Tamar made a date with Yehuda. That's good. So you need these simonim to...
I made a picture for this.
Did you really?
Yeah, should I get it?
Yeah,
I
sure.
made it because we had this on Daf Yomi.
Oh, good. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so let me get it.
Okay, so a guy makes a shvuah shlo ichel te'enim va'anovim. He's not going to eat figs and grapes, which means that he's only going to be over if he has both. V'chaz v'omar shvuah shlo ichel te'enim. But then he says, I'm not going to eat figs. Is that chal? It sure is, because now it's a shvuah that's moisef. Before he was only osir with the figs if he eats together with grapes. Now he's saying, even figs alone I'm not going to eat. Okay. Now what happens v'ochel te'enim? What happens if he eat te'enim? So now he's over on the second shvuah, because he ate te'enim alone, that was the second shvuah. V'hifresh carbon, and then he separates a carbon. V'achar kach ochel anovim l'chudayu. And afterwards he ate grapes themselves after he brought carbon on the te'enim. So havalu anovim chatzi shiur. So now you're going back to the shvuah rishayna where you need both. So once he had kapara on the te'enim, so now the anovim is chatzi shiur, v'chatzi shiur l'mechayev carbon, and chatzi shiur is not mechuyev a carbon. A chatzi
This is
shiur.
what I made.
Oh, so we're not to eat figs.
This is only goes in the figs one.
So we're not
So
to
in the
eat figs and
first
grapes.
one-
Oh, so that's very good. Exactly. That's exactly what it did. Yeah? So what did he do? It's Rabbi's case. Rabbi says, first, you gotta go to the bottom picture first. First he says, swear not to eat figs and grapes.
Right,
and
right.
after he said, I swear not to eat figs. So it's chal. The second shvuah is chal. Why? Because in the first shvuah, the figs were only usher together with the grapes. The second shvuah, he's ushering figs alone. So isser moisef. So if he eats, let's just say figs alone, he brings a carbon, he has a kapara on that. If he goes eat grapes now, that's a chatzi shiur, because in this first shvuah he has to eat both in order to be mechuyev. So therefore he's not chayav a carbon. Chatzi shiur is not chayav a carbon. Nachanamikin the amar shvuah shlo ichel eser. He said 10 first. V'achaz v'amar shvuah shlo ichel teisha. V'achal teisha v'efresh carbon v'achal achal asiris. Have the asiris chatzi shiur v'chatzi shiur lo mechayev and chayav on the 10th one because chatzi shiur. Okay. Zog the Gemara. There you wanna. It's. Yeah. No, what's it? Yeah. It's healthy. Okay, so the Heilige Mishnah, Chavtes Amad Aleph, Eze Shevuos Shav. What is an example of a Shevuos Shav? The Mishnah. Eze Shevuos Shav, Nishba L'shana Seidu La'adam. A person swears on an item that everybody knows, Amar La'amat Shel Even Shushal Zav. Says on an Amat Shel Even that it's Zav. It's really stone, and he says it's Zav. Everybody sees he's lying. Everybody sees it's false. That's a Shevuos Shav, and on that you get Malkis B'mezit. Another example is Balaish Shu Isha.
I don't know, in Los Angeles.
Why are we laughing nowadays? Yeah, they learned 100 years ago. Nobody, Isha. Now it's mamish very common. Yeah,
20 years ago.
20 years ago. You're right.
Today is shocking. Again. Men look like women. So because somebody can say, I swear, I saw it's a woman.
Mamish. Wow, you're right.
No, he's the others.
It's shocking. You know?
We're going to see. It has to be nicker l'shloisha b'nei adam. It's not so nicker, so then maybe it's not a Shevuos Shav. Wow, interesting. Wow. Isha v'ale isha shu ish. Or nishbal dov she'yafsher loi. Or he swore on something that's impossible for it to happen. In other words, he said, I saw a camel flying in the air. Right? Today, nowadays, not so pashut because it's a plane, right?
Also, he's tripping a little bit.
Today the drones.
He's smoking something.
Yeah, okay. That's
Today the drones.
drones, there you go, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
This should be a
It
YouTube.
can be a camera look like a drone, you know?
Right. Correct. Or if I saw a snake, it's as big and gigantic as a beam of an olive press.
It's like you could be like a man, like you say to like a man who thinks it's a woman. Yeah, when camels fly, right?
Wow, yeah. When camels fly, that's when you'll be a woman.
What happened when camels fly?
Yeah, aha. Yeah. Omar le'edim boyu ve'eduni. He said to Edom, come testify for me. So the Edom said, Shvush l'idcha, make a shvur, we're not going to testify. That's a case of nishba. That's also a case of nishba, shvur shav. That's a case of shvur shav. Yeah. Why? Because it's a shvur levatas mitzvah. Because you have to give edus. If you know testimony for someone, you have to give edus. So if you make a shvur, chayavim. Yeah. And the same is true by other mitzvahs. Nishba levatas mitzvah. Shalilasois sukkah. V'shalilitol lulav. V'shalanich tefillin. Arezu. Wow! Shevuos shav. You are unbelievable. I missed you guys. So good to see you.
Shalom.
So you walked in just in time. Yeah, some olives for you guys. We just said Kikoras Beis Abad.
Just in time for the Mishnah.
Just in time for this case in the Mishnah, yeah? Al Ishu Isha, yeah. Now we're talking about, I think this camera, we'll just put it back, Yeshkoich. So now we're talking about a Nishba Levatas HaMitzvah, middle of the Mishnah. Sheloi Lasi Sukkah. Anybody bothered by this language? Nishba Levatas HaMitzvah. What's Nishba Levatas? Sheloi Lasi Sukkah. Is there a mitzvah to make a sukkah?
No.
Why does the Mishnah say Nishba?
Mitzvah.
Sheloi Leishev Basukah, right? That's Nishba. Why Sheloi Lasis? If I eat in somebody else's sukkah, I'm not yet to the mitzvah? Of course I am. There's no mitzvah to build a sukkah. Okay, so unfortunately that's what it means. He's saying, I don't even want to touch a sukkah. I'm not even engaging in the process of building a sukkah. That's how distant he wants to be from the mitzvah. But avad, the mitzvah is sitting, right? That's what it means. Okay. Okay, so that's it. Right, so in other words, he's distancing himself. It's all inclusive. That's what it is. Yeah, okay.
This is the people speak, you know.
Okay, it's the people speak. He's not going to put tefillin. Zui shvuas shav. That's a shvuas shav. Because why? Because you can't make a shvuah levatas mitzvah. It's a shvuas shav shachayot as doing a makas shagos a potter. Yechayev malchus if you did it b'mezid, and then b'shoigig there's no carbon of shvuas shav. Okay, now the last case in the Mishnah is shvuah sha'oichel kikar zu. He makes a shvuah. I'm going to eat it, and then he says shvuah shaloyach lenu. Contradictory shvuahs, conflicting shvuahs. Harishoino, the first Shevuos is Shevuos Bitoy, right? It's a regular Shevuos Bitoy, so I'm going to eat it. Hashniya, the second one, Shevuos Shloach Leno, is Shevuos Shav. Why? Because he can't make a Shevuah that he's not going to eat it once he has a mitzvah to eat it. He's got a mitzvah to eat it. He made a Shevuah, he's going to eat it first. So Achlam, over Shevuos Shav. If he eats it, then he's over, also in a Shevuos Shav, the Gemara is going to say. Lo Yachla over Rak al Shevuos Bitoy. The Gemara is going to say means only in Shevuos Bitoy. Okay. Omar Ula said, when we say that you're chayiv for a Shevuos Shav, if you make a Shevuah that this guy is a woman, and everybody can tell he's a guy, he's a man, that's only if it's obvious to at least 3 people that he's a man. It's an interesting Gemara, no? It's only if it's Nikr L'Gimel B'nei Adam that he's taka man, facts are facts, and you went ahead and you swore against that, saying that it's a woman, that's when you're chayiv. But it's not nikul l'gimel b'nei adam, it's not so obvious to people, right? I can't imagine any such case, right? It's not obvious to the person that this man is a man, so then you're pater.
It's not uncommon.
Not uncommon, no. Okay, weiter. Nishbal dov she'ef shalom lo'isi gom aprech ba'aver. Says the Gemara, Shavuos she're'isi lo'i ka'amar, mayim lo'i re'isi. Yeah, it should be re'isi. So by Omer, tani Shavuos she're'isi. Taka say, Shavuos she're'isi means, I swore I saw a flying camel. That's a Shavuos shav, because obviously you can't see a flying camel, so you're just making Shavuos for no reason. That's shav, that's a useless Shavuos. Rava says, no, but Omer ya'asr kol peiz shabayim alai, im lo'i re'isi gom aprech ba'aver. He's making it nice, saying, if I didn't see it, I'm committing myself to never eat fruit again if I didn't eat a governor. So he's trying to say I did, right? That's also Shavuos Shav. Am Levin Ravashi, the Dilma, Hi Gavert Sepira.
Hippopotamus also flying.
Oh, someone was asking this, Rav Shol. Maybe he saw a plane. What? What is this? What's so funny? What I miss?
זה מה שקורה פה, אתה יודע כמה פעמים אנשים אמרו לי שהם ראו דברים עפים באוויר גם כן וזה, הם כולם היו...
That's what I said.
That's what he said. They smoke up.
Right.
Smoke a joint and then they're flying too.
They're flying, and they saw things flying, you know.
Like psychedelics.
Wow.
They're high.
Huh?
You heard the expression when they go high.
When they go high.
In the case with the gender ambiguity, that's also for LA.
Gender ambiguity, yes.
This is a Los Angeles Gemara.
Right. So, Gavald, exactly right. Maybe when a guy says that I swore I saw a flying camel, you know what he means? He means he saw a huge bird and he decided to name the bird camel. And therefore, Shevuos is a good Shevuos. How can you chayiv him on a Shevuos shav like that? Maybe we should be chayshish. Huh? Like a vulture, like some.
Dragon with כנפיים.
Yeah, you ever saw one? No.
כתוב
no such a thing, you know, like a big bird.
They have those
Right. It doesn't mean the size of a camel. It just means like something gigantic. And they decided, oh, that's a camel. He uses, huh?
New Orleans, when they have their festivals, they have those big, what are they called when they display them? And then some of them they fly in the air with these large dragons. They have such things that fly. I mean, they like kites, like very large kites. So it's conceivable that they could have such a illustration.
Right. Right, that's a kite. Right, you could have a kite also. That's closer. It could be closer to the camel picture of a flying camel. So the Gemara, it's an interesting Gemara because the Gemara is trying to say that technically you can never be mechayiv somebody for a Shevuos shav. Because what's the classic case of a Shevuos shav? A guy swears on a plastic table that it's from gold. So maybe this guy decided to call it gold. In other words, this is what he calls gold. He wasn't making a Shevuos shav. He calls gold. Right? He's calling a bird a camel. That's what he's calling a bird a camel. Yeah.
You know, ostrich. If you see an ostrich fly, imagine an ostrich can fly.
Oh yeah.
From far away, you see it's a camel. You would think it's a camel.
Really?
Think about it.
You can make a mistake, an honest mistake.
You can make a mistake. From far away, flying is
But camels don't fly.
Huh?
But camels don't fly.
I know, but you can say, wow, that's, you know, you can...
Well, ostriches don't fly either.
I mean, if
That's why
possible.
Oh man.
I mean, he said that.
One person might be
a big bird.
What?
He said a big bird. I don't know.
Big bird. He's like, okay, he's calling it a flying camel. So the Gemara says, anybody can have whatever they want to have in mind when they're saying whatever they're saying, and they can claim, oh, this is what I meant. This is what I had in mind when I said camel. I really meant a bird, but I called it camel. So Gemara says, and if you'll tell me no, we have to take him by his word, and we don't follow his das. That's not true. When Bezin swears somebody in, we don't rely on whatever you have in mind as you're giving your testimony, how you define the words. In other words, we decide what the words you're using will mean. So what do you see from here? Okay, my time, why? Maybe give him monopoly money, fake money. And he's calling it Zuzi. Right? They're going to swear somebody, say, did you pay this guy? Did you pay him back? Say, oh, paid him back. Pay him back in full? Yeah, $10,000. Yeah, $10,000. He swears. And really what he means is, I paid him back monopoly money, but he's calling that real money. So he's not over on the Shevuah. So Bezin has to say, don't swear al datcha. You're swearing al datenu. But what do you see from this conversation? That Shevuah is subject to interpretation based on what's in your mind. Because that's why Bezin has to prevent that, right? They're saying it's not based on your mind, it's based on our minds. So from that halacha, you learn that the average Shevuah is always up for interpretation to the person, to the das of the person, or in that case, the Bezdin.
Well,
there's a common definition of words that people generally know.
Right, but right. So that's what Bezdin is really saying. Bezdin is really saying it's al datenu, which means whatever money means, how we how we talk about money, not what you mean about money. But if they wouldn't say that, it sounds like he could manipulate the Shavua and cloud it with his own definitions.
Then it becomes a balagan.
Then it comes to Balagan, right? So the Gemara says, Loi, that's not the reason. Really, I'll tell you that it's not subject for interpretation. Every Shavua, you take it literally. So why does Bezdin say, why did it say al datenu and not al datcha? So the Gemara says, Hasa Mishem Kanya de Rava. Over there, it's because of Kanya de Rava. What's the Kanya of Rava? He basically told him to hold. Shaila was, did he give him the money? And he had a stick, inside was coins, and he gave it to him, and he told him to hold it while he's making the Shavua, and while he's making the Shavua, Taka did give him the money, because he was holding the stick that's full of money. But he wasn't aware of it. So there are tactics to, that's why we have to say al datenu. Toshama, ask them another kasha. Over here it's mashma, you also go basar the machshava sa'adam, how a person interprets the words. Toshama v'chein metzinu kshesh b'yam Moshe Yisrael, or Moshe Rabbeinu swore Klal Yisrael and Arbes Moav to Mekayim the Torah. Should know that whatever shvur you're making it al dativ al dasa makayim v'mai. Why did he have to say that? Leimelahu kaimu mai de omar Eloi ka. Just say keep whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to keep. Lav mishum de maska dataya, but it's kachavim because they could have interpreted that to mean in their own minds to avodah zara, which is also like it's referenced to Elohim. So that's what they meant. So to really prevent that from happening, Moshe Rabbeinu said, "No, ani mashbiaschem al dasa makam v'aldaiti." So what do you see from that? You see that Shevuos are up for interpretation based on somebody's definition and how they intend on defining it. So the one says loy. No, it's not a raya either. So because over there the word eliha also means avodas kachav. So it's nothing to do with the mind. It's really the word itself can be mashma like that. Ask him v'leimelu kaimu as atayra. So why does he use the word eliha? Let him use a word that doesn't reference avodah zara. So the Gemara says no. If it just says Torah, it says chad the Torah. Right? We have Torah shebachsav and Torah shebal peh. So if it says Torah, it's chad the Torah. So therefore, he doesn't want to. He didn't want to say that word. V'lei mekayim shtei Torahs. So say two Torahs. Torah shebachsav and Torah shebal peh. He says no, because that would mean Torah's chatas and Torah's asham. Right? There are different Torahs even within the Torah shebachsav, which is Torah's chatas, Torah's asham. So they still could prevent and say that that's only what Mekabel in the Shua and not everything else. So ask the Gemara, Torah kula. Let him say be Mekayim all of Torah. Gemara says, no, that wouldn't help either. Avodas Kachavim, that would be able to you can interpret that Avodas Kachavim Damar Chamur Avodas Kachavim Shekal Kofer B'Kamoid B'Chal Torah kula. Somebody who does Avodah Zarah, it's like he's Kofer B'Chal Torah kula. V'lei melahu Kaimu mitzvah. It's Chad mitzvah. It's only one mitzvah. Kaimu mitzvah is tarti. It's only two. Kol mitzvah kulan. That's mitzvah tzitzis. Don't remember shkula mitzvah tzitzis. Can I call mitzvah kulan? So in other words, no words. Moshe Rabbeinu had no other choice than to say what? Than to say al dativ al dasa makayim. V'leim lukayim u'sheish shmei shlosh mitzvahs. Keep the 613. Gemara says no. That el tameich leimulu al dati al dasa makayim lamali. Why do you have to al dasa makayim? Must be that el keich l'tavka hafar l'shvuasayu. The reason why he said it over there wasn't because it's up for interpretation. He just wanted to reinforce the shvua to the point where you can't have an afara. The halach is you can always be made for a shvua, but if you make it al das acherim, then there's no afara. So by doubling down and saying I'm making the shvua al dati al das amakim, this way there's never afara for such a kind of shvua, and there's never afara for such a kind of shvua. He is secure that Klal Yisrael will keep Torah. But the bottom line is that avada, a shvua, is not subject for interpretation. It's not based on what you had in mind when you made the shvua. That's not what it's based on. So a quick thing. Basically, I was. It's very interesting because I sometimes eat at Fish Grill in Beverly lunch because I have my office. The studio is right by the kollel. I have a very good location. It's a prime real estate right there. I learned for a seder. I eat lunch, go up to my office, and then it's just a great spot. So I don't, lately I've been, going home for lunch and come back to the office. So today I had a meeting with somebody, I'm sitting in Fish Grill, and I see a guy who I'd never seen before in LA, period. Like a new face. He's eyeing me, I'm eyeing him. He's just sitting a table over. Okay, I'm minding my own business. And when I get up, he comes over to me and he says, "You're Yoel Gold?" I said, "Yeah, my name is Yoel Gold." He says, "Do you write for the Amain magazine?" I said, "Yeah. I write an article for the Amain last 7-8 years, every week, it's stories, because people share stories with me." He says, "It's so interesting that I'm seeing you right now, because I actually wanted to reach out to you after the story you published this week." So, he said, I even took a snapshot of it, the story. It really bothered me, what you wrote up. Daddy wants to know, what's the story already? Yeah. So he said, okay, first I'll tell you the story. The story goes, the story within a story, right? The story goes that this woman, she was always careful to pay back any debt she had, even if it was like 2 shekel within Eretz Yisrael. And her son, who contacted me with the story, told me that to the point, his mother was always so careful, to the point that once she was in Givat Shol and she had to buy something, she didn't have enough money, so the guy let her take it, and then when she came home, she got the money and she came back, and the bus fare was more than what she owed, to the guy, and still she did it because it was more important for her not to go to sleep knowing that she owes somebody money. That's how careful. Soinu debt, yichya, right? Soinu matanas, yeah. It's the cheat. That's what they're doing. They call it a credit card, right? It's no credit card. It's a debt card, right? It's like life insurance is death insurance. So anyway, bottom line, his mother passes away, and he has a dream. Mother comes in a dream, and she says, he sees his mother talking to a friend of hers, 2 chairs on the street, and he's walking by, and his mother says, "Can you give her 50 shekel?" And he wakes up, and he's very bothered by it. He's happy to see his mother in a dream, but he's very bothered by it. So he calls the friend, and says, "Does my mother owe you money?" And she said, "Your mother owe me money? No way. We know your mom was always so careful with every shekel. Never, always pay somebody back." She says, "Well, I had this dream. She said to give you 50 shekels. I'm not going to take it. She doesn't owe me money." That was it. Case closed. 2 weeks later, this woman calls back and says, "Actually, I remembered. Your mother does owe me money, and she owes me 50 shekels. Yeah. And right away, he said, "I'm coming right now because I had this dream and it's just impossible. So I'm coming." He says, No, you have to understand. I was moichel the money a long time ago because I know your mother. It was just like very quickly and I was already moichel it, especially when your mother passed away. He's like, no, I'm coming to give you the 50 shekel. I don't want to hold on. My mother, I'm giving you the money." And gave the money, and then the article, this was this week's story, I wrote, you see, when a person is so careful of the mitzvah in this world, even after 120, they have the privilege of coming back, even in a dream, to have somebody correct it for them. That was the Maisa. So this guy, who I met at Fish Grill, right back to the Fish Grill guy, he's walking me to my car after I leave, and he said, it bothered me because she was moichel the money. She was moichel the money. So mechila doesn't work? It was a very, very legitimate question. No, what do you guys say?
Maybe in the Amain, in the Dagdik.
But mechila, I was moichel.
דין שמיים מויכל, אבל בשבילה זה אולי שם יראו לה שזה bother.
Because the neshama was still sensitive to it.
יכול להיות שבאמת דינה וזה, אבל זה שמיים,
Right.
לא הייתה צריכה...
Right.
הוא יכול בגלל שהייתה so sensitive,
Yes, that's
בשמיים נתנו את ה-privilege to go, and even that small stuff.
Even that small thing, right.
היא צריכה להודעה שהיא מוכלת.
It's what?
לא, אם אני זה, מוכר בלי
אתה
דעת.
צריך לעשות ממש, להראות דעת שאתה מוכר.
Right, what's HaKadosh Baruch Hu Zavas Yisrael?
Yeah.
Fichach Ivan Torah Mitzvahs.
צריך לגלות דעת שאתה מוכר.
Yeah.
Where the person has to be fulfill one mitzvah b'shleimus. So
Rambam,
person
the Makas, yeah.
who takes on one mitzvah and he's very didactic
Well.
on that mitzvah, he wants not to have any pagam.
Yeah.
On that mitzvah, he doesn't want to go to Shemaim with any demerits.
Yeah.
On his report card.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. I had an additional hargasha to what you're saying, Doctor, and also to what you're saying, Rabbi Yoel, that there's mechila and then there's mechila. There's mechila out of generosity.
Right.
Then there's mechila out of okay, she died, and there's what kind of mechila was it? Two different madrigas, and because it just happened, and then she didn't realize. Okay, whatever. Michael. Yeah. What? She had said as Michael a long time ago, like she forgot, but then she remembered that yes, but I was Michael it, and she's Michael again probably, but this time, yeah, it wasn't. Yes. Yeah. Right.
You're not going to call back for 50.
Correct.
It's okay.
Correct. I don't know if you remember the Gemara we had in the Sanhedrin. The Gemara at the end of the Sanhedrin talked about Rav Kahana had a shaila. He asked a shaila from Rav. Shaila with regarding Yisrael that's boil and nachri. Anyway, so Rav didn't have an answer. Rav didn't have an answer. And then Rav Kahana had a dream that night with the pasuk, and he woke up and he told Rav the pasuk that he had in the dream. So, first say, why didn't Rav have the dream? Rav was the one who needed. Right? Rav didn't have the answer. Why is Rav Kahana having the dream? So they say because Rav didn't sleep. He only slept like David HaMelech, and he couldn't get to the point where you needed that depth of sleep, the REM, whatever, to get that message from above. So when we learned that Gemara, Morris Clement was here, and he said a similar story happened to him. He said that his wife woke up one day. She had a dream that Morris's father came to her saying, "Tell Morris to pay back. He owes money." I think he said to which guy. So he reached out. So he's like, "I don't owe money to that guy." And literally the next day, this guy contacts him, "You owe me money." Like he didn't even reach out to him yet. And he said, "Oh, you owe money?" So I asked Morris, "Why do you think your father came to your wife in the dream and not to you?" He says, "My father knows if he wants me to get it done, he has to go to my wife." And my wife. Okay, but either way, weiter Gemara.
Go first is a big first. Like it's a huge first.
To do what?
It's an obligation to go from give him the
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some people didn't get it.
Right.
And then it's begin good.
Right.
If you have to become it's a big tzar to come again to the world.
Very big tzar. Very big tzar. And the truth is, we spoke about this many times. We're all here to do tikkunim, right? All of us are here. We're here back to what we call. Okay, let's see if we can finish the Masechta. Not the Masechta, the Perek tonight. Let's go weiter. So the Gemara says a guy says a Shevuos that he saw a Nachash the size of a beam of an olive press. It's a Shevuos shav. The Gemara says, "V'loi? Why you never saw such a big snake?" Right there in Persia, you had in Shvur Malka. You had a snake that was so gigantic, it was able to hold 13 barrels of what?
Hay.
Of hay. Amar Shmuel, no. We're talking about not the size, we're talking about the appearance. Amar Shmuel b'taraf. We're talking about the appearance of a nachash that looks similar to a kairos beisabad that has charitzim. It has what? Spotted. Okay. Where it says kulanami mitruchiv. What do you mean? All the chashim, most of them are menumar. They have spots. Where it says b'shagaboy taruf. He's talking about the nachash.
Its back was spotted.
The back was spotted, and they don't have usually spotted spots on their backs. Okay. Shevuos sheichel kikerzu shevuos lo yechleno. Yeah, double Shavua. Says the Gemara, Hashem Shevuos bita mechayev, Shevuos of loy mechayev. What do you mean? He's only chayev and Shevuos bita in a case where he makes a shua that he's going to eat it. Then he makes a shua he's not going to eat it. Then he ends up eating it. He's chayev mishum Shevuos bita yarei yatzis Shavua lashav. He also made a Shevuos shav. Rabbi Yoel af al Shevuos bita. Say also he's also chayev and Shevuos bita. Zug the Mishnah weiter. Okay, last Mishnah of the parak. Shevuos bita neges ba'anoshim b'vanoshim. The din of Shevuos bita is neheges ba'anoshim of anoshim. Bikroivim over chaykim, biksheirin over psulim, all kinds of people. Bifnei bezdin, v'shloi bifnei bezdin, bepi atzmoi, and only if you make the shavua yourself. You have to be moitzi the shavua from your mouth. V'chayovin as denamakis, b'meiz you get malchus, v'shegigosa carbon oil of yared. Right, it's very interesting Mishnah. Now the Mishnah is talking about who the shavua, who is the din. It's like the chinuch. At the end of the mitzvah, each mitzvah he tells you who the mitzvah is noyig in. Right, the people. I think Avram Fried many years ago had a song on Tiferes Yisrael. He says you have to ask 7 questions. Anytime you approach a topic, you have to ask 7 questions to get clarity. One is, right? So there are 7 questions to get clarity on any topic. You want to master an area in Torah, a mitzvah, or even a business deal, make sure you ask these 7 questions. What are the 7 questions? Me, who, lemi, to who, ma, what? Lama, why? For what? For what? Masai, when? Ayai, how? Eich, I don't know, where? Eich, how? And Lama and why. So you have to master those 7 questions. And here, we're talking about the topic of Shevuos Bitoy. The Mishnah is addressing the question of who? Shevuos Shav, Ne'egez, Banoshim, Banoshim, B'chaykim, B'chaykim, Ksherin, B'psulim, V'nei Bezlev, V'nei Bezlev, V'atzmoi, V'chayov, Nos Denemakaz, Shegoz, Potter. Says the Mishnah, Achazu, V'achazu, by Shevuos Bito or by Shevuos Shav, Amushbo mepiacherim chayev. Somebody who's mushba from other people is chayev. Which means what? What's the case? Lo yichalti ayoyim v'lachti tefillin. The guy says, I didn't eat anything today. Come home, you're famished, you're hungry. Or he said, you didn't put in tefillin today. Friend says, really? Mashbiach, I swear to me, you're telling the truth. Amain, and he responds, Amain? He says, Amain chayev. That's kamoitzi shviu mepiv. Guy answers, Amain. To somebody else challenging his statement, saying, swear to me that that's true? He says, Amen, that's mamish kamoitzi shvuah mepiv, and he's also chayv. Omar Shmuel kala oina, Amen, achar shvuah, anyone that answers an Amen to somebody else's challenge for a shvuah, kamoitzi shvuah befiv dami. The Amen has a din of being moitzi shvuah befiv. The chsiv, it says by Soita, for Omar ha'isha, Amen, Amen. That she answers Amen, Amen, after the Kohen speaks to her, and she answers, Amen, that's considered a shvuah. Omer Famash made it over. Mastis Abrais Nami Daik Diktani Shvuah Seidis Ne'egz Banoshim V'loy Benoshim. Right? Koydem we're going to bring the Mishnahs. We're going to do tomorrow. Mitzvah Shvuah Seidis Ne'egz Banoshim V'loy Benoshim. That if you swear that you don't know testimony for someone else, that's called a Shvuah Seidis, and that's only noyeg by men. Why? Because only men can testify, not women. B'rechaykim V'loy B'kroivim. Only people who are pasal Eidis. They're chaykim. V'loy b'krayvim. B'ksherin, people are kosher it's loy b'psulim. Ein neges elu b'ru'uyin lahayid, and it's only someone who is capable of being mayid, which means like not a melech. We saw Sanhedrin, right? There's certain people who are not royal lahayid. Ufnei bezdin, v'shloy v'nei bezdin, mepi atzmoi u'mepi acherim, einon chayovin ad sheyichpru bezdin. The pi'atzma is even outside of bezdin, but pi'acherim, it's only if you're koifer in bezdin divrei meir. Tanya, the Bryce we learned Shvuah Seidis Keitzad Omelei Boy Veduni. What's the case Shvuah Seidis? Guy says to Eidim, come testify for me Shvuah Seidis, and they say, no, we don't know any of your testimony. We swear we don't know. Or he says, they say we don't know Eidis, and he says Mashbiani Aleichem, swear to me you don't know. Va'amru Amen, and he said Amen. Bein b'fnei bezdin, bein shaloi b'fnei bezdin, bein b'pi atzmai, bein b'pi acherim, kiven shekafru behem, chayovin. Divrei Rabbi Meir. Asks the Gemara, Kashin adodi, sekasha samam stira. Why is it a stira? Because the Mishnah says that b'pi acherim is only bezdin, and the Brisa says b'pi acherim is also even outside of bezdin. Gemara says, Elaf shmamina, how do you answer that stira? The ana amen, the loy ana amen. When do we say that outside of bezdin b'pi acherim works? If you answer amen. If you answer amen, then it's like you're making the shvuah. That's why it works outside of bezdin. But if you don't answer amen, then you need the kfira, the bezdin shmamina, that amen is kamertzi shvuah mepiv. Omer Ravina Shnei Ravam, The last couple of lines, Masnisin Docha Nami Daika. Our Mishnah itself is also meduyik like Shmuel, that Amotzi Kala Oina Amain Achar Shevuos Kamotzi Shmuel Mepiv. The Ketani Shevuos Bitan Haggis Ba'anoshim Uvenoshim, Berchoikim of a Kroivim, Biksherin Uvepsulin, Bifnei Bezdin, Vishloi Bifnei Bezdin. Mepiatzmoi, and it's only if it's Mepiatzmoi. He says it himself. So the Gemara says, Mepiatzmoi in, Mepiacherim Loi. Sounds like if somebody else would put the Shevuah on you, it wouldn't work. Tani Seifa, and the Seifa says otherwise. There was that Moshe Piacherim Chayiv, does work. Kashan Adadi. How do you resolve the contradiction in the Mishnah itself? One part of the Mishnah sounds like Moshe Piacherim does not work, the other one sounds does work. El Lashmamina, the chilik has to be whether you answer Amain or not. How on Amain? When do we say that Moshe Piacherim works? If you answer Amain and Shmuel's right, that Kala Oina Amain Achar Shevuah Kamot Shmuel Pivdami. And Amain, and over here where it says it doesn't work is because he didn't answer Amain. Fellow Shmuel, my Kamashmalon. So what's the Chiddush in Shmuel if it's a Mishnah? And it says the Gemara Dukya the Masnisan Kamashmalon. He's Medayik. He's taking up from the Mishnah. He's teaching you the Diak in the Mishnah. Hadrin Lach Shevuos Shtayim. Hadrin Lach Shevuos Shtayim. Hadrin Lach Shevuos Shtayim. I got to tell you, I spoke to my friend last night. His name is Rav Gav Friedman. He's an old Daf, great guy. Anyway, we're talking. We're schmoozing. He gives Daf Yomi, and he says to me, I don't know if I could say this publicly. He says to me that Shevuos, he already went through the cycle once. He says Masechta Shevuos was his hardest Masechta, still is the hardest Masechta for him. Hardest Masechta to give Shevuos, to give shiur. I said, okay, I'm not the only crazy one. It's not an easy Masechta. It's not like it's conceptually, but also we get involved in kachim, and it's a little bit of a. But I give. It's a difficult Masechta. It's a difficult Masechta.
I've done it twice.
You did it twice.
And it's a difficult Masechta.
But who shies away from difficult? This life is all about. It's all about the difficult.
You know what it's valuable for, though?
זה מה שרבי עקיבא אמר.
Before you talk.
על כל גל וגל, על גל מתרושם.
When a person says a word, he's now going to think twice before
You know what? Yeah, it's the truth. Now, yeah,
I saw that after Nadorim. I say illuminate it all the time.
Really?
When you learn things like this,
Yeah.
it kind of shows you the value.
Yeah, it shows you that.
Three bases. Baruch Hashem, illuminate,
Right. So, just the Aina Amain, right? Aina Amain can't go without saying. Yes. Shol, what do you have in Omen? You have the gematria of Omen is Malach, no? Is it also Malach? Malach. Every Omen creates a Malach, and that Malach protects a person.
Right.
Now, I don't know if you know that there is a WhatsApp chat, you wouldn't believe it. Anybody who makes a bracha and wants to be mezakah somebody else with an Omen, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I think you mentioned it before, yeah.
I mentioned it before, yeah.
How is that legit, though?
I don't know how that's legit. It's Kalaoina Amen. This is the idea of it not being like, yeah, because why not? Because it's through the.
with someone else's bracha over the video or audio, right? Someone says a bracha over a cell phone.
Except during COVID and COVID, you know.
That's Shasachak. But in regular, like in the hospital, there's this whole show about
How do you phrase that? Change shoulder or no?
It's not really accepted.
Right.
That's been asked many times.
Yeah. Not sure.
It's a shiur about whether or not you can do it live. It's a live recording. You got recorded, of course. You know, I find myself doing it sometimes. I'm listening to a shiur from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
Amen. Yeah.
Yeah, and automatically you say Amen, right?
Yeah. Right. That's crazy. Yeah.
I'm listening exactly to the time there's a
Right.
Can you say Amen if you hear a recording from many years ago, somebody making a bracha? Like, no, that's just not right. It's not that energy is not. Oh, that was then. Saying Amen, something happened.
Live is the shiur.
Yeah.
Then you can just play the same bracha again and again.
Rack up the Amens.
Or even at the Kotel when they do like Birkas Kohanim, they do it on
on our PA system.
on microphone. You know, sometimes they have big minyanim. They have microphones.
The show have the basin and Alexander, I think the Gemara we talked about.
They clapped on the stender.
When they had a very large face, and they had someone with a red flag.
Right.
And he was by the chazan, and he waved the red flag when the chazan was saying the brachos, so the people who were far away in the periphery of the basic medrash, they would know that the chazan just said a bracha.
So they're not even saying a mending.
So they don't know, but they dare during the time of tefillah. So they dare the time of tefillah, and they know he's saying the bracha, so even though they don't hear it, they would say Amain because the guy who signaled with this red thing, they knew that he was saying the bracha. That's
Beautiful.
We missed the prop. What was this?
You know, we had a case of Shevuos Shaloi Oichel Teisha, and then he said Ve'eser. There's all Shaila whether Ve'eser, if they eat their chayv twice, because Ve'eser is a new Shavua or not. So they were supposed to Ta'enim. So I had like a thing of dates. I was going to bring dates. I only had 8 of them. I needed 10. For the case of the Gemara, so I just went to my pantry. I was just like, okay, we'll just take some of these. And here we made a